A question I often get asked is, when a covert narcissist goes for counseling, would the therapist be able to recognize that they have narcissistic personality disorder? I'm Lise Leblanc, and in this video, I will give you the top 5 reasons a covert narcissist can sometimes be missed or misdiagnosed by mental health professionals. And I will also share the #1 reason therapy doesn't work very well with someone with NPD. This content is for informational purposes only, and if you find this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And also hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. Okay, so let's jump right in. For starters, not all narcissists are the same. Some will say a narc is a narc, but that is not true. There are 2 subtypes of narcissism: grandiose and vulnerable, or overt and covert. Both types of narcissists share common characteristics and criteria that they need in order to qualify for a diagnosis of NPD, which I explain in my video called What is Narcissistic Personality Disorder? But the grandiose and vulnerable narcissists are very, very different in their presentation. Typically, the grandiose narcissist is very arrogant. They appear confident, optimistic, extroverted, and are resistant to criticism. Whereas the vulnerable or covert narcissist is anxious, insecure, introverted, and very hypersensitive to criticism. In my almost 25 years of clinical experience, I've found that the grandiose narcissist rarely accesses therapy unless they are at risk of losing something and or trying to avoid negative consequences. And when they do come in, they don't often get missed or misdiagnosed. They are quite easy to spot because they are so overtly grandiose. At first, the grandiose narcissist may use exaggerated flattery because, remember, they're usually there because they need something from the therapist, say, for example, a letter for the court. So they may be on their best behavior, but they quickly get impatient, demanding, and they can get verbally aggressive if they're not getting what they want fast enough. On the rare occasion, a grandiose narcissist may come for therapy because their life is falling apart. For example, their marriage is ending, or because they are dealing with another mental health problem, such as depression or addiction. And they are suffering to the extent that they can temporarily admit that they need help or have a problem. But they're not admitting that their problem is narcissism, and in fact, they are looking for a quick fix ego repair, kind of like the pit stop of a Formula 1 race. They want in and out fast and have no patience for the therapeutic process. And the therapist, like all people in their lives, is seen as a means to an end. The good thing about the grandiose narcissist is that you don't have to guess what they're thinking or what they want. They will tell you, they will make demands, and if they're not happy, they'll tell you straight up that you're an incompetent idiot. The covert or vulnerable narcissist, on the other hand, will be passive-aggressive. For example, instead of telling you that you're an incompetent idiot, they will question where you went to school or what your credentials are. Are you a real psychologist? Or maybe mention in passing that they saw a top-notch therapist in the past who knew a lot better than you. Just as they do in their personal relationships, the narcissist will deflect, project, and try to gaslight the therapist. And it can be incredibly frustrating and exhausting, and many therapists working with narcissists report feeling anxious and dreading sessions with them. However, sometimes the covert narcissist is on their best behavior with the therapist, especially in the beginning, because they want to be perceived in a positive light. So this can make them hard to detect, even by a trained mental health professional. So here are the top 5 reasons why the covert narcissist sometimes goes undetected. In no particular order, the first reason is that they are putting on a show for the therapist and acting like the victim. And I say acting loosely because in many cases the vulnerable narcissist doesn't know that they are a narcissist and they truly see themselves as the victim. A covert narcissist often comes in for therapy because they are struggling in their relationships and feeling like they are being abused. And even when they can admit to some of their own narcissistic or abusive behavior, they feel fully justified in doing it. In their minds, either their partner deserves it or they are simply defending themselves. And unfortunately, the danger here is that the narcissist will sometimes manage to convince the therapist that other people really are the problem, or the abusers, or the narcissists. The second reason a covert narcissist can be missed by a therapist is because in order to qualify for a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, you only need to display 5 of the 9 diagnostic criteria, which means that 2 people with NPD may have as little as 1 criteria in common. So this makes it so that people with NPD can have many different combinations of symptoms and very different presentations of the disorder. The third reason is that narcissistic personality disorder often co-occurs along with an Axis 1 mental disorder. Approximately 15% of those with NPD also have depression. 17% have bipolar disorder, and a high percentage have substance use disorders. So the vulnerable narcissist coming in for therapy for major depression, for instance, may not present as narcissistic while in the throes of their depression. Or, the symptoms of one disorder can mask NPD or mimic it. So the fourth reason that covert narcissists can be missed is that they often have co-occurring Axis 2 disorders, or they meet some of the diagnostic criteria for other personality disorders, such as borderline, histrionic, obsessive-compulsive, or antisocial personality disorder, making it incredibly difficult even for psychologists and psychiatrists to discern which Axis 2 diagnosis fits best. So, for example, 25% of those with NPD also qualify for a diagnosis of BPD. And so this is just one example. There's a lot of overlap. And this is why in most of my videos, I urge people to get away from trying to diagnose the people in their lives and to focus more on whether the person and the relationship are toxic. Because the fact is, even mental health professionals can get confused about which diagnosis fits best when these symptoms are overlapping with other disorders. And I've often looked at the chart of someone with a personality disorder only to find a long list of changing and conflicting diagnoses by different mental health professionals. So the fifth reason is that the covert narcissist is really, really good at manipulating people. And the mental health professional has no way of verifying much of the information that they are being provided. So it is only when inconsistencies start to arise or when certain behaviors become more obvious that the therapist starts to get a more accurate picture. The covert narcissist most often does not genuinely engage in therapy. Instead, they are going to therapy to get validation from the therapist that they are the victim, that their partner or that other person is the problem. They want to be pitied, they want to be praised, and they want the therapist to be their audience and witness to their suffering. But as time goes on, the therapist will start to see that all the solutions they offer get dismissed. Therapy assignments are ignored. There's always lots and lots of excuses and blame on others. And if the therapist challenges them on anything or tries to explore their narcissism, they may be accused of invalidating or being incompetent. So in other words, the covert narcissist is in therapy to strengthen their victim narrative and to prove that their partner or someone else is the narcissist or the abuser. And they'll often go home and use what the therapist said or what they think the therapist said as proof or as evidence. But if the narcissist stays in therapy long enough, they almost always give themselves away by sharing information and examples of their narcissism, as well as behaving in narcissistic ways towards the therapist. So like in any of their relationships, they can only hide their narcissism for so long. So in time, the mental health professional will usually see that there is an axis to disorder at play, but not always. Okay, as promised, the number one reason narcissists do not benefit from therapy is that they are rarely willing or able to admit and work on their narcissism. They rarely accept the diagnosis, and when they do, they can't accept responsibility for their behavior or even accept that many of their problems are actually stemming from their personality disorder. It's always someone else's fault. Now, on the occasion when the narcissist does genuinely recognize that they have NPD and they want help for it, in this case, there may be hope for them to act in less narcissistic ways. But for the narcissist, it will be a constant and consistent effort, the same as it would be for a non-narcissist to consistently act like a narcissist. So if you are pushing the narcissist to go for therapy, stop. Stop trying to save them and start saving yourself. Go and talk to someone who can help you sort out the situation you're in, to help you find yourself, get your personal power back, to examine how you ended up here and what's keeping you here and what you need to do to get yourself and your life back on track. And if by some chance the narcissist does want help for themselves on their own accord for narcissism, then perfect. But don't expect miracles and only buy into their promises to change if and when you observe consistent changes in their behavior. And don't expect perfection. Don't expect the narcissist who is making progress to never default back to their narcissistic ways. And if you have been through the ringer with a narcissist who is now enlightened, please be clear within yourself on what your boundaries and non-negotiables are, because it will be very difficult for the narcissist to maintain any positive changes, especially when they're under stress or temptation. So instead of progress, you'll find out that you just drop down into another rabbit hole, and years of your life can be wasted as you slowly come to the realization that the narcissist probably won't change. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. And for more information about narcissistic personality, please check out my NPD playlist.